Jay stretfordpaddck, bit of breaking news. Apologies, I'm a little bit late. We were meant to go live at 3:30. Just getting a few things in order to go over the news and make sure I've got all the information that I need for this live video. As you may have gathered, lots of you in the chat already. The news is there's been a statement announcing that Antony is going to take a leave of absence. Do get involved in the comments and the chat and let me know what you think about this. First of all, I'm going to sort of try and run through what is going on. So we'll start with the announcement. I think that's probably best in it. We start a little bit sort of back to front in terms of the story and just go straight to the latest announcement, because this broke about half an hour ago. I think I first saw it. The club obviously doing an official statement that they've put out on their socials. So if I can just click on it now. So we've got the statement here from the club. It says club statement on Antony. Don't forget, the club put out a statement earlier on in the week which didn't really say anything. It just said that they were sort of aware of the situation and were acknowledging it rather than doing anything about it. This is different, though. This is slightly different. This is a statement that was released at 1 o'clock today, so 35 minutes ago. An official club statement. It says, Manchester United acknowledges the allegations made against Antony. Players who have not participated in international matches are due back in training on Monday. However, it has been agreed with Antony that he will delay his return until further notice in order to address the allegations. As a club, we condemn acts of violence and abuse. We recognise the importance of safeguarding all those involved in this situation and acknowledge the impact these allegations have on survivors of abuse. So the club statement is pretty clear. He says there will delay his return until further notice. So he's not coming back from international. I know he was away with Brazil, but then Brazil drops him from the squad in light of these allegations. But when the players return, as that statement says, from international duty, he won't be part of that group. He won't be coming back. He presumably won't be training or anything. He'll just be taking time off until further notice, whatever that means. Now, there was a story. I did the Gazette today. And I'm going to get into some of your comments. I know there's a lot of people in the chat, and I do want to speak to you guys about this and get your thoughts on it. As always, I know I don't tell you. You're all good people, but I'll say it anyway, just in case it's someone jumping on. Be respectful, especially when we're talking about victims and things like that, potential victims. We don't want to start throwing, awful comments about, which I'm sure none of you will. So there was a story I think it was in the Eye. I had this in my Gazette. Now, this is it's a weird one now because it's the Saturday and Sunday paper. So it's not necessarily a Sunday paper. It's a Saturday and Sunday one. But it was saying pressure builds on United to suspend Antony. Brazilian winger denies allegations of assault brought by 2 more women. Now, there was an allegation by his ex-partner, who I think she gave a statement to Brazilian authorities and to Brazilian media as well, accusing Antony of several incidents of domestic violence. So it says here, this is by Mark Douglas, who's the Northern Football correspondent for the Eye. Manchester United winger Antony has been accused of assault by 2 more women in Brazil as pressure builds on the club over their handling of the player. The name, it says here, Ingrid Lana, 33, claims Antony pushed her against the wall after she refused to have sex with him at his home in England. So that's quite an important fact as well. This isn't just Brazilian authorities, presumably, that need to look at Antony. We know anyway, but just to remind you that authorities here in Manchester are looking at him as well, because some of these allegations, presumably looking at him, I think that's been widely reported anyway. Some of these allegations occurred, I say allegedly occurred, obviously, in Manchester. Another woman named by Brazilian media as Racia de Freitas claims she had an altercation with Antony and another woman in a car after leaving a nightclub in Sao Paulo, and filed a police report about the incident in May 2022. So there's 3 now, isn't there? There's his ex, there's this lady Ingrid Lana, and there's another woman, Racia de Freitas, all making accusations against Antony. Antony had denied these allegations. He had given an interview. He had said that he was denied them, and he says he's not guilty. But the club obviously have to do something about this, because if you've got 3 people making allegations, if it's all over the media, what do? Do you fully back your player and say, look, we are going to back him, we're not suspending him, not doing anything? Or do you say, which is what the club have done, we need to just take some time here to sort of understand what's going on, maybe to see where this sort of ends up going in terms of police investigations and things like that. I think this makes sense. I think it does. I think that when it comes to the nature of these allegations, the fact there's more than one as well, it seems like this was gathering momentum, and it feels like the club had to get in front of it before there was some sort of, they were forced. They were, I think if the police investigation had gone one way, or charges are made, I'm not saying they will be, but if they're made, then the club don't have much of a choice. I think at least this way, it seems a little bit like the club are going, okay, we've taken stock, we are going to react now, and these are the actions we're taking. What do you think? I think this makes sense. I'm not saying, I have no idea about these allegations. I don't want to get into speculation about whether Antony's guilty or not. What I will say is an investigation obviously has to be carried out. I think that's important, and it sounds like there is an investigation going on in Brazil, and from what we gather, there was reports of an investigation going on over here, or police were looking into matters over here as well. So that needs to happen. And then when we know a little bit more about this, when there's a little bit more clarity, maybe then you can make a more long-term decision. Or maybe this just sort of, he stays on leave, as what it's been said, until something happens. Let me know what you think. There's a lot of people in the comments in the chat, so I will try and get through as many of them as I can. 20 Legend says back Ten Hag. Let's try and not make this about race as well, people. Sartorial Sky says May 2022, United are back-to-back games away. When did you get the time to do such thing? I don't know. I mean, listen, you can try and work it out in terms of the timings and the maths and all that, but I don't think that'll get you anywhere. We don't know, do we? In terms of what's going on, I think only obviously the girls involved and Antony know the ins and outs. Salford 6 says, Jay, why you got a hoodie on? It's roasting, you psycho. You're right, it is roasting. And I don't know why I've got a hoodie on. I'll tell you why I've got a hoodie on, because my t-shirt's dirty. I know this isn't why people are tuning in to watch this video, say about my clobber. But yeah, that's the situation. Ed says, after Mason Greenwood mess, United have to appear more proactive. Yeah, it does feel a little bit like that, doesn't it? I said it in my Gazette this morning. I was standing in front of Adam McCullough, and I was saying that you feel like United, when it came to the Mason Greenwood situation, I thought initially United did the right thing. They said, okay, look, Mason Greenwood, there's this, the audio was out there, he was facing police charges, and I think they suspended him pretty early when that audio came to light, if memory serves. I don't think he played for United after that. I don't think he has done. And then obviously the police investigation, they said we have to wait until the police investigation is concluded before we can do anything. I get that as well. I understand that. There's a police investigation. On the channel, we said the same thing, and we're not Manchester United, we're just a channel, but we were saying, look, we're not going to comment on something where I'd read and I've been told of people that have law degrees and are barristers and things like that you can prejudice a case if you go online and start saying things about it, or you go on the telly, or you go in the media and start saying things about it that could affect the case. And that is the last thing we want to see. So we sort of kept stum until the police investigation was concluded. Then the club, when it comes to Mason Greenwood, I'll talk about Mason Greenwood for a minute, then we'll move back on to Antony. Then the club said, right, okay, we need to do our own internal investigation. And that, again, makes sense, because sometimes just because someone's not been charged by the police or convicted by the police doesn't mean there isn't evidence that they've done something that you don't agree with as an employer. You can sack someone or you can suspend someone for something they've done which hasn't been prosecuted by the police. That's not beyond the realms of possibility. So I understood that. But the problem was you had this 6 months, I think it was, from the police investigation ending to Mason Greenwood, to United making a decision on Mason Greenwood. In that time as well, the season started. There was all this talk about, we're going to make an announcement before the season started. We had pre-season, the season sort of got underway, and then United made this announcement after they'd leaked a story, or a story had come out, I should say, that Mason Greenwood was going to be brought back into the club. There was an outrage. There was lots of outrage, people sort of kicking off on socials, as you can imagine. And then the club seems to do this U-turn and say, right, okay, we're not going to bring him back. A bit of a weird statement they put out as well. There was the open letter from Richard Arnold. There was a statement by the club, and there was a statement from Mason Greenwood as well. And I thought the open letter from Richard Arnold, personally, I thought it left a lot to be desired, especially the bullet points. Now we're in a situation where Mason Greenwood has gone to Getafe on loan. Just on the Antony allegation situation. I've got Antony's statement as well. Andy Mitten tweeted this a little while ago. He says, and you can see it everywhere. I was on Twitter, so I've seen it on Andy's post. He says, I've agreed with Manchester United to take a period of absence while I address the allegations made against me. This was a mutual decision to avoid distraction to my teammates and unnecessary controversy for the club. I want to reiterate my innocence of the things I've been accused of, and I will fully cooperate with the police to help them reach the truth. I look forward to returning to play as soon as possible. Forgive me, I just needed a drink there because it is roasting. I'm like an idiot. I've got a jumper on, but my t-shirt's not great. It's a bit dirty, so I don't want to take this off. Yeah, so Andy's put out his statement there, which is pretty powerful, of course, what you'd expect. We know he's said in the past that he's not guilty, so he's putting that in a statement. Also, that he's going to cooperate. That makes sense. Sorry. The question is how long is this going to go on for, and what's going to happen now in terms of the Erik ten Hag and the decisions with the team and stuff like that. Daniel Abraham says, right wing is cursed. Let's just enjoy violin music, Jay. Yeah, it does seem there's one thing after another. JUR a Legend says, Red Devils. JR says, get naked, Jay. That's no one wants to see that. Zara says there's a culture issue with the club. Big Bossman says, Jay, thoughts on the pedestrianisation of Norwich City Centre? I'm glad. I need a bit of light relief. Don't we? I know this is obviously a very serious subject, but it's just been one bit of bad news after another with Manchester United recently. And this obviously is not great, is it? Whichever way you look at it, the fact that you've got one of our most expensive players who has currently been put on a leave of absence because of very serious allegations about him, it's not good. And it's not good, and it needs sorting. Basically, we need to see what happens. We need to find out. Obviously, justice needs to be served, whatever justice may be, and then hopefully the club can move forward. It's just everyone's in a very difficult position at the minute. I think the club, for once, I don't say this very often with Manchester United because I think they get most things wrong, have made the right decision. I think if this is gathering momentum as it is, you've got him plastered all over newspapers. You've got people coming forward and saying fresh allegations. Well, these two women over the weekend, I think it was, saying fresh allegations. Well, the end of I think it was Friday or Thursday or Friday that came out. His country aren't playing him. They dropped him from the squad. What are Manchester United supposed to do there? Did Manchester United keep playing him? Do they say, oh, well, he's innocent, so proven guilty, as Bill Bryson says? Or do they say, no, look, there's something going on here in terms of these allegations, these investigations. We need to act. The club have decided to act. I don't think personally that's a bad thing. I think that makes sense. I think what's going on is obviously a bad thing. It's not a good thing. But I think the club taking making a decision now before the forced to makes sense. It's not easy for Erik ten Hag in a minute, is it? Just from a playing point of view. Let's forget the morals for a minute if you can. But you've basically got a situation where Jadon Sancho, he's not happy and he's not performing in training according to Erik ten Hag. And then when he's mentioned that in a press conference, you've got Jadon Sancho pushing back against that on social media. You've now got one of your biggest signings, a signing that he brought in as well. Let's not forget Erik ten Hag, who's unavailable because he's been put on a leave of absence because of these very serious allegations. And 3 women, I think it is now, have made them. So there's a lot for Erik ten Hag to deal with. He might just have to wait. He might just have to wait and see with the Antony situation and not do anything. In terms of Jadon Sancho, that's a different story. Obviously, it's not as serious in terms of the reasons why Jadon Sancho hasn't been playing. It's just not performing in training rather than allegations. It's just another issue that the Manchester United manager has to sort out. I'm going to wrap it up there. I don't want to linger on this too long. I just wanted to go live, give you guys a chance to have a little bit of a chat and let you know the latest as well, and give you some updates. Hopefully, we'll be somewhat clearer sooner rather than later, because obviously the Mason Greenwood scenario, that was one. I know they're not the same, but there's a similarity there. I'm sure you can all see. That one lasted for what? Was it a year and a half, something like that? But however long it takes, justice has to be served one way or the other. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks, everyone, for jumping in. We've also got Gazetta's out already. A bit of a news update, a little bit of this. Obviously not the breaking news that I've just covered, but a little bit of